Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Haunted Hypnosis. Part 1: The Awakening. Holly Arnold stood at the edge of a cliff on the Isle of Wight, the wind whipping her auburn hair into a frenzy. Below, the sea roared, crashing against jagged rocks, sending plumes of white foam skyward. She had come here to escape, to find solace after her last, grueling case. But even in this remote corner of the world, she couldn't escape her past. Holly was a hypnotist, and a damn good one at that. Her reputation for unlocking the deepest recesses of the human mind had spread far and wide, bringing her clients from all over the country. But the case of David Lister was different. David had come to her with a sense of urgency, his eyes haunted, pleading for help. He wanted to recover memories lost to amnesia following a car accident. Holly, always up for a challenge, had agreed to take him on. In her quaint cottage, nestled among ancient oak trees, Holly began the sessions. David's mind was a labyrinth of darkness and confusion. Each time she delved into his subconscious, she felt a chilling presence, as if something sinister lurked just beyond the edge of perception. But she pressed on, determined to help him piece together his fragmented memories. Part 2: The Unseen Connection. One evening, as Holly guided David deeper into hypnosis, something changed. His voice took on an eerie turn, and he began to speak in a language she didn't recognize. His body tensed, and his eyes rolled back, showing only the whites. Holly's pulse quickened, but she maintained her composure, scribbling notes furiously. "What is your name?" she asked, her voice steady. "I am Isolde," he replied in a guttural voice that wasn't his own. Holly's hand froze mid-note. "Isolde?" The name sent a shiver down her spine. She had heard it before, in her own nightmares. Holly continued, "Isolde, where are you from? The past, a time forgotten. You know me, Holly, you were there." The room seemed to close in around her, the air growing thick and oppressive. Holly ended the session abruptly, bringing David out of his trance. He looked at her, confused and disoriented, unaware of the terror he had just invoked. Part 3: The Buried Past. That night, Holly couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, plagued by dreams of a time she couldn't remember but felt in her bones. In her dreams, she saw a young woman, her doppelganger, running through the woods, pursued by shadows. The woman turned, and Holly saw her face clearly. It was her, yet not her. The next morning, Holly returned to the cliff, staring out at the sea. Her mind raced with questions. Who was Isolde? And what connection did she have with David? She knew she had to find answers, even if it meant delving into her own past. Back in her cottage, Holly retrieved an old, dusty journal from a hidden compartment in her desk. It had belonged to her grandmother, a woman shrouded in mystery and whispered about in hushed tones by the townsfolk. Holly had never read it, fearing what she might find. But now she had no choice. The journal's pages were filled with strange symbols and accounts of rituals performed on the island centuries ago. One entry caught her eye, a tale of a young woman named Isolde who had been accused of witchcraft and executed. According to the journal, Isolde had sworn vengeance on the villagers and vowed to return. Part 4: The Unraveling. Holly's hands trembled as she read. Could it be that Isolde's spirit had returned, seeking her out through David? She needed to confront David to understand the connection between them. That evening, Holly met David at her cottage. She explained her discovery, showing him the journal. David's face went pale as he read the entries, his eyes wide with fear. I remember now," he whispered. "I remember seeing you, or someone like you, in my dreams. We were connected somehow." Holly nodded, her heart pounding. "We need to go deeper, David. We need to find out what Isolde wants." As Holly hypnotized David once more, she felt a familiar chill. This time she was ready. "Isolde," she called out, her voice firm. "Why are you here?" David's body convulsed, and the guttural voice returned. "I seek justice. My spirit has wandered for centuries, seeking the one who wronged me. You, Holly, are her descendant. The blood of my betrayer runs through your veins." Holly's breath caught in her throat. Her grandmother had betrayed Isolde. The weight of ancestral guilt pressed down on her. "What do you want from me?" Holly asked, her voice trembling. "Redemption," Isolde replied. You must perform the ritual to set my spirit free, or I will consume you both. Part 5. The Ritual. Holly and David prepared for the ritual, following the instructions in the journal. They gathered the necessary ingredients, herbs, candles, and an ancient amulet that had belonged to Isolde. As they worked, the air grew colder, and shadows danced along the walls. At midnight, they made their way to the cliff where Isolde had met her end. Under the light of a full moon, they drew a circle with salt and lit the candles. Holly held the amulet, feeling its power thrumming through her. "Isolde, we call upon you," she intoned, her voice echoing in the night. "We seek to right the wrongs of the past and set your spirit free." The wind howled, and a dark mist rose from the ground, coalescing into a figure. Isolde's ghostly form stood before them, her eyes burning with anger and sorrow. "Do you promise to break the curse and release me?" she asked. Holly nodded. "I promise." With a final incantation, Holly held the amulet high, and a blinding light burst forth, enveloping them all. Isolde's scream echoed through the night, filled with pain and relief. When the light faded, Isolde was gone, and the air felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. Part 6. The Aftermath. David awoke, his mind clear for the first time in months. "It's over," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, Holly." Holly smiled, though her heart was heavy. She had freed Isolde, but the revelations about her family's past weighed on her. As they stood on the cliff, watching the sunrise, she knew her life would never be the same. But she also knew that she had the strength to face whatever came next. She had confronted the darkness and emerged victorious. The Isle of Wight, with its ancient secrets and restless spirits, had tested her, but she had prevailed. As she and David walked back to the cottage, Holly felt a sense of peace. She had uncovered the truth, faced her fears, and freed a tormented soul. And in doing so, she had found a new purpose. The haunted hypnosis had revealed not only the past but also the path forward, and Holly was ready to follow it wherever it might lead. Part 7. The Lingering Shadows. In the weeks that followed, Holly found herself reflecting on the experience. Though the spirit of Isolde had been released, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that something was still amiss. The nightmares persisted, and she often woke up in a cold sweat, the remnants of Isolde's memories lingering like dark clouds on the horizon of her mind. David, on the other hand, had begun to rebuild his life. With his mind clear, he rediscovered his passion for art and started painting again. He often sent Holly sketches of the cliffs and forests, each brushstroke a testament to his newfound peace. But for Holly, peace remained elusive. The journal, now a permanent fixture on her desk, seemed to call to her. She pored over its pages, seeking answers in its cryptic entries. Each night, she descended deeper into the enigma of her family's past, uncovering secrets that only deepened her unease. Part 8. The Whispering Woods. One particularly stormy night, Holly received a letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the contents were chilling. It spoke of a place deep within the island's forest, a place where Isolde had once performed her rituals. The letter warned that the curse wasn't entirely broken and that Holly needed to visit the site to complete the task. Compelled by an irresistible urge, Holly donned her raincoat and ventured into the woods. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches swaying ominously in the wind. As she trudged through the underbrush, the letters and instructions played over in her mind. She needed to find the ancient stone circle, a place forgotten by time. After what felt like hours, Holly stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a ring of moss-covered stones, their surfaces etched with arcane symbols. The air here was thick with an otherworldly energy, and Holly felt her heart race. Part 9. The Final Confrontation. Taking a deep breath, Holly stepped into the circle. Instantly, the wind died down, and an eerie silence enveloped the clearing. She reached into her bag and pulled out the amulet, its surface still warm from the previous ritual. "Isolde," she called out, her voice steady. "I am here to finish what we started." The air shimmered, and a faint figure appeared before her. It was Isolde, but her expression was softer, less tormented. "You have come," Isolde whispered, her voice like the rustling of leaves. "But the task is not yet complete. What must I do?" Holly asked, clutching the amulet tightly. You must perform the final rite, Isolde replied. It will bind our souls, ensuring that I can never return to this realm, but it will also mean that a part of you will always remain connected to me. Holly nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. She recited the incantation from the journal, each word resonating with power. As she spoke, the amulet began to glow, and Isolde's form grew more distinct. With the final word, a brilliant light enveloped them both. Holly felt a searing pain, as if a part of her very essence was being torn away. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the light. When the glow finally faded, Holly collapsed to the ground, exhausted. The stone circle was empty, and the amulet lay in her hand, its power spent. Part 10. The New Dawn. Holly awoke to the first rays of dawn filtering through the trees. The storm had passed, and the forest was alive with the sound of birdsong. She felt different, lighter somehow, yet she knew that a part of her would always be bound to Isolde. As she made her way back to the cottage, Holly felt a newfound sense of purpose. She had faced her fears and uncovered the truth of her lineage. Though the shadows of the past still lingered, she was no longer afraid. In the weeks that followed, Holly continued her practice, helping others unlock their hidden memories. But she also began to explore the island's history, delving into its rich tapestry of myths and legends. The journal remained on her desk, a reminder of the journey she had undertaken and the spirit she had freed. David visited often, and together they explored the island, finding beauty in its wild and tamed landscapes. Holly's nightmares gradually faded, replaced by dreams of the island's past and its enduring mysteries. Part 11. The Unseen Legacy. Years passed, and Holly's reputation as a hypnotist grew. People came from far and wide to seek her help, drawn by stories of her extraordinary abilities. But those closest to her knew that her true gift lay in her empathy and her unyielding determination to uncover the truth. One evening, as Holly sat by the fire, she received a visitor. An elderly woman, her eyes bright with intelligence, introduced herself as Eliza, a historian researching the island's folklore. She had heard of Holly's encounter with Isolde and wanted to document it. Holly agreed, recounting her story in detail. Eliza listened intently, taking notes and asking questions. When they were done, Eliza smiled and handed Holly a small, weathered book. "This belonged to Isolde," Eliza said. "It was passed down through my family. I believe it rightfully belongs to you." Holly accepted the book, feeling a sense of closure. She had come full circle, from uncovering her family's dark past to embracing her role as a guardian of its secrets. As she flipped through the pages, Holly felt a profound connection to the island and its history. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she was ready to face whatever came next. The haunted hypnosis had led her to a deeper understanding of herself and her place in the world. And though the shadows of the past would always linger, Holly Arnold had found her light shining brightly in the darkness. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.